All right, markets do okay in presidential election years. This market, and this day notwithstanding, with most of the Dow stocks down, all the way to technology that's taken a particularly big hit today. The fact of the matter is that presidential election years are friendly for the corner wall and broad. That would normally, you would think, benefit the occupant in the Oval Office. Not always, though. Scott Martin's been tabulating things. Do you see this trend continuing?
I do, Neil, and it's funny how every different presidential election cycle has differences under the surface, meaning that it depends on who's coming in and who's going out, and how, of course, Congress shapes up. But in the case of typical, say, nomenclature or arithmetic, the third year, actually, Neil, is the cycle that's the best, or part of the cycle that's the best, which we saw last year is totally true. The fourth year being the second best year of the four-year cycle. So there's a lot of things to be excited about, but look how fast and how far we've come already this year through just the beginning of March.
You know, this administration normally doesn't like to talk about the markets, oftentimes criticized Donald Trump in the years where every record was on him, and they didn't want to make that a focus, even though the markets have done quite well. Well, now, sure, as you can bet, they are talking about the markets, and it's a reflection of what they're doing. I don't know whether they're taking credit for artificial intelligence and the easy money there so far, but what do you make of that?
Well, it's funny because this president obviously gets pretty confused when it comes to the economics, whether the reason the market's going up, which it is not because of Biden economics, of course, which you strangely don't hear that much about anymore, but a president, too, Neil, that hopefully it looks like is on his way out and doesn't understand the cost of a pound of ground beef, doesn't understand the cost to the average American of what a gallon of milk will charge you at the store, or certainly doesn't understand what, say, lunch at Taco Bell costs, and then confuses things like Britney Spears and Taylor Swift. I mean, maybe their hair smells typical or similar to each other. But other than that, things that the president seems to be confused about, economically speaking, are certainly things that I think the market is looking forward to going forward, and having somebody else in the seat who understands economics. Donald Trump understands business, understands transactions, understands real estate and things like that, that will help the market understand that going forward over the next 4 years, whoever it may be, if it's not Joe Biden, the market's going to be in a better mood.
Normally, there's a lag time between the improving numbers and Americans feeling them and voting as a result. The administration argues it's got time to make that connection with voters, something that George H.W. Bush didn't have in 1992, and the economy was turning around at the time. Too little, too late for him. Do you think this will resonate in time for them?
Yes, similar case. It's the economy, stupid. And I feel like the American people are feeling distrusted, basically, or feeling not the trust with the administration, because the administration says how great the economy is and how great inflation is and things like that, when it's really not true. We're still facing an uphill battle with regards to inflation. We still have interest rates. As you talked about with Charlie Gasparino earlier in the show, Neil, about interest rates are still affecting the consumer. They're still affecting businesses. They're still affecting banks. And that's something, too, that needs to work itself out as we go forward here.
Got it, my friend. Thank you very much.